All right. So, just saw this. We're gonna do a little live stream, and I'll record this and put it on my YouTube channel. Probably should link that to this. Was our sound okay? Looks like our sound's okay. So this just came in. Just came in just now. It looks like 22:23. What time was it? I don't know. This just came in. Uh, the measures. So UK, EU, UK, US, and Canada announced new restrictions against Russia, including blocking currently sanctioned banks from SWIFT, as well as freezing assets. So they're not banning all Russian banks or companies or whatnot from using SWIFT. I think it's just for banks. They're just blocking a few banks from SWIFT. You know, the reason politicians do stuff like this is just to create the perception. So a lot of people, there is there are proponents that want to block Russia from using SWIFT. That might collapse the global economy if they did that. All right, it would be very bad for Europe. Most of the parliamentarians in Europe that back that would lose their jobs in the next elections. So they're not going to do that. But what they just did is they added a few banks. Let's see what banks are not allowed to use SWIFT now. You know, I find it hard to believe that they are ever going to block the majority of Russian banks from using SWIFT. I find that difficult to believe. Okay, they're stopping. So they announced that certain Russian banks that are already blocked, already sanctioned in some way, they blocked them from using SWIFT. I'm willing to bet, and it's going to be hard to find much information on this because the media doesn't want you to know this information. They want you to think. See, the media works for the governments, so they want you to. What they're doing is just saying, "Hey, see, look here. Your leaders do have some backbone, and they do want to take drastic measures against the Russians, right? Look, they're blocking banks from SWIFT." But what they don't tell you is that the impact of that is going to be marginal at best because they're still letting the vast majority of Russian banks use SWIFT. Now, I'm not a proponent of them blocking Russia from using SWIFT because that would collapse the global economy, in my opinion. But it's an interesting development. And then they're blocking sale. They're forbidding people from purchasing passports outright, which that should be illegal anyway. So they're blocking Russians from bribing basically bribing officials to use passports. to get passports. So my question is, shouldn't that already be illegal? I mean, shouldn't it be illegal generally to buy a passport? Except maybe in special circumstances, but shouldn't that already be illegal? I would think so. And what about the central bank? The Russian central bank. So basically, they're blocking the central bank of Russia from. They're taking steps to keep them from going around the sanctions, I guess. They're closing a loophole that they left open intentionally. So, another sanction. So, the thing about these sanctions is most of the sanctions are pretty toothless. You always see in the media crippling sanctions, this, that, and the other. Well, I think Russia's pretty used to the sanctions. They've already begun to form a parallel global economy with Russia and other countries. I mean, with China and other countries. They don't trade with the United States. So, sanctions haven't actually helped ease tensions between the United States and Russia. And I don't think, personally, that was the point. Sanctions actually further divides countries. It creates more antagonism between countries. It doesn't cause a country like Russia, sanctions would never cause a country like Russia to actually do a 180 and change its policies. All it's going to do is create an incentive for Russia to operate outside of the monetary system of the world, which is the dollar reserve currency, which is the petrodollar and the euro dollar system. So that's all it's really doing. So at the end of the day, and the caveat to that is that all of Russia's business with China, first of all, China is already also trying to create a parallel economy, and it's already done a lot to step outside of the euro dollar system, even though it still is the largest holder of dollars in the world. At the same time, they're trying to create a monetary system based on the digital yuan. And Russia and China are close trading partners. China is Russia's biggest trading partner by a long shot. Okay. So the sanctions aren't going to actually stop Russia from doing what it's doing, whether you believe it's right what they're doing or not. I'm kind of ambivalent on that. Even though this page is called Vladimir Putin for U.S. President, and for my YouTube recording, this is, as a side note, I'm doing a little live stream on my Facebook page. It's called Vladimir Putin for U.S. President. It was basically, I created the page back in 2016 as a troll to mock the Russiagate thing, because I knew from the outset that the Russiagate issue was a political hit job. The Clinton campaign, with the help of FBI agents and intelligence officers and various politicians in both party, basically fabricated Russiagate in order to keep Trump from getting elected. Okay. So I caught that from the beginning, and I created Vladimir Putin for U.S. president just as a, it was supposed to be a satirical page at first, but I guess I'm not really good at satire. I guess I'm not funny enough. But then I just started using the page to post videos I like, and you can and the record speaks for itself. You can look at the page and you can pretty much see what my political leanings are. I mean, if the videos I share on this page are any indication, you would say I'm a lefty. But I'm actually more of a libertarian. But the anti-war left is, very vocal on YouTube and other social media. And I'm first and foremost, my main issue that I care about is foreign policy and getting the United States out of the wars and all that. That's been my main concern. So you're going to see a lot of Jimmy Dore and a lot of lefty videos made by lefty sources and stuff like that. But I'm actually more of a anarcho-capitalist, or just a straight anarchist, or a big L libertarian. Okay, so I just think that there's plenty of blame on both sides for this war. There's plenty of blame. Okay, it's a fact that the United States backed the Maidan coup in 2014. And it's a fact that the United States had significant influence in Ukraine since then. That's a fact. Okay? Now, you can call it a puppet regime, or you can call Ukraine you can say Ukraine was a puppet regime of the United States. I don't know if I would go that far. But certainly, President Biden literally got the main prosecutor, the highest prosecutor of Ukraine, fired. Okay? Just like that. Just like that. So you can call that what you want. You can call it a puppet regime, or you can just say that the United States had significant influence in Ukraine. You can say whatever you want. But the fact is that the United States backed the coup. We know that based on leaked phone calls from officials in the United States and the European Union. We have enough evidence to say that with some level of confidence. The United States backed the coup that was largely carried out by far-right militias and avowed white supremacists, okay? Although I don't think the Nazi problem is as big of a problem as many people would suggest, given that, the president of Ukraine is ethnically Jewish, right? So I'm not sure that this is a big there's a big anti-Semitism problem, at least. Maybe these are like more anti-Russian Nazis, and that would make sense because the original Nazis were very anti-Russian. They basically put the Russians in basically at the same level in terms of their conception of eugenics as the Jewish people. Okay, so maybe they're like a new kind of non-anti-Semitic Nazi that basically just hates the Russians. I mean, that's possible, but I don't think it's as big of an issue as Vladimir Putin would suggest, and as many lefty commentators make it out to be a bigger problem than it is. Now, of course, having any sort of infiltration in the government by Nazis is a problem, I would argue. Okay, so because the militias, one of which is very famous, the Azov Battalion. The militias are very powerful, and they have to a large extent infiltrated the administration of Ukraine, at least the military administration of Ukraine. All right, so I'm not saying there are. I'm not denying that there's Nazis and that there's a Nazi presence in Ukraine, and it's probably a much bigger Nazi presence than in the United States, here in the U.S., for example. But I don't think it's as big of a problem. It's not like there's Nazis everywhere. I found this earlier. So basically, not YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, of course, they're all being sanitized. I'd say to the greatest extent. To me, it's the most blatant, the most blatant censorship and propaganda, distribution is occurring on Twitter. If you go to Twitter right now and you put, like, for example, Ukraine War, okay, all you're going to get is support for Ukraine, which is fine because, Ukraine obviously is not, Ukraine itself is not the aggressor here. I feel worse. I feel the most sorrow for the Ukrainians because, the Ukrainians are stuck between a rock and a hard place here. They're between Russia and Europe. And they have their issues with Russia going back to way back, okay? They have their issues. There's a history there. You have the Holodomor, which it's debatable whether that was, to me, an intentional act of genocide to wipe out the Ukrainians. I think it was more an intentional act to wipe out the kulaks or kulak resistance. And there were a lot of kulaks in Ukraine because Ukraine's an agricultural country. So Stalin's problem, with the Holodomor, Stalin's problem wasn't really the Ukrainians per se. It wasn't a racial thing. It was a sort of class thing. He considered the kulaks to be bourgeois, even though most of them were dirt poor. So they were bourgeois to him. Stalin, for all of his flaws, he really, I feel, he truly did believe in communism. I feel that. For all of his flaws, that man believed in communism. But so going to the Holodomor, this is a very contentious issue, and I dare say I shouldn't bring it up, but I am going to bring it up. I just don't see the evidence for an intentional act of genocide to wipe out the Ukrainian people. I don't see that. I see that Stalin was very harsh on Ukraine during the Great Famine, but he was also very harsh on Kazakhstan. He confiscated grain from Kazakhstan. So that's one thing that a lot of the people, the Holodomor, the people who believe Holodomor was genocide, they'll say, well, Stalin took the grain from the people and they were already starving. I mean, what would you call that if not genocide? And I would say, well, from what I understand, I'm not an expert on Russian history, but from what I understand, he took grain from farmers in Kazakhstan and Russia. The Great Famine was worse in Kazakhstan. More people died in Kazakhstan than in, well, maybe on a per capita basis at least, because I don't think Kazakhstan has as huge of a population as Ukraine. But I don't know. But either way, Kazakhstan suffered, from what I understand, just as bad or worse. I mean, it's hard to say, hard to quantify it per se, but so they have a history. I feel bad for the Ukrainians because the Ukrainians were being manipulated by the United States, through the coup and the subsequent corruption that the United States took advantage of. The energy politics, the weapons manufacturers wanting to sell weapons there, even though we all knew it would be highly antagonizing to Russia. Okay, they don't see it as anything other than a sale, and they want to get the sale, even if it starts World War III. As a matter of fact, these weapons manufacturers probably wouldn't mind World War III. Okay, but to say that Russia isn't, and Putin in particular, are entirely to blame for this, that's being disingenuous. Okay, the United States and Russia and China are all playing this grand world chessboard game, and China and Russia get involved with countries in Latin America and the Caribbean occasionally, Venezuela, Cuba. Okay, that happens. And the United States always gets very, very defensive about that and very firm in their opposition to that. And the United States doesn't play around with that for a good reason, especially with Cuba. But Russia largely abandoned Cuba, as when they, as the Soviet Union began to collapse, starting in the late 70s and going through the 80s. And so Russia doesn't really have a lot to do with Cuba anymore. And their only concern about Venezuela is the oil, right? And the United States gets very upset every time they even trade a little bit of oil with the Venezuelans and such things. But here we have the United States doing a regime change, not really installing a puppet government, but we know from Victoria Nuland's call that the State Department was very involved in the subsequent leadership of Ukraine after the Maidan coup. They were actually debating letting Klitschko be the, maybe pushing for Klitschko to be a big political figure in Ukraine right then and there. But then they decided in the phone call, Victoria Nuland says, well, he's not ready to be in politics yet, such and such. And she says he can stay out of it and do his political homework. That's what Victoria Nuland said. But we know that the United States had a lot to do with that regime change. And we were providing weapons to the right-wing militias up until 2018. Now, to Obama's credit, he didn't actually provide lethal aid to the right-wing militias. He only provided non-lethal aid, not lethal aid. So Obama, in public, wouldn't give weapons to the Azov Battalion and the other right sector people. I'm sure covertly we gave them weapons and lots of aid, but not publicly. And then here comes Trump, and he's like, oh, let's give him weapons. But you don't see the media really talking about that, do you? You would think that that Trump giving weapons to far-right groups, that many of which are avowed National Socialists, you would think that the media would be all over that, but the media doesn't really want to mention that because that would get a lot of other people hung up and involved and get their feet wet. So they're not going to mention that. Plus, the media would never criticize weapons sales. Never. When's the last time the media criticized a weapons sale? They barely criticize Saudi Arabia selling weapons to Saudi Arabia, which are being used, immediately for a very brutal war being conducted in Yemen on the part of the Saudis. They won't even criticize those weapons sales. It's very telling when Trump, the big boogeyman of our time, but they won't criticize him for sending lethal aid to neo-Nazis. That's very telling right there. It's all about what the media doesn't say. that tells you everything you need to know. What they don't talk about, you know what I'm saying? So, back to Twitter, because I'm going on all sorts of tangents. That's why I'm doing a live stream. So, Mark Zuckerberg, Lex Friedman, that's going to be interesting. I'm going to have to look at that. So, everything you're going to find, that's interesting. Andy knows saying that the people in the media are saying that the Proud Boys are going to Ukraine. I don't know what's going on there. That's interesting. So all of this stuff is straight pro-Ukraine. It's all pro-Ukraine. It's all anti-Russia. It's kind of alarming to me, just the extent to which the media has been totally co-opted by the military-industrial complex, for one. You know, we are in the United States might already be a fascist country. And what is a fascist country? It is when the state and the private sector merge. And when that happens, the private sector is no longer private. Okay? So then there is no private sector. In other words, you have no private property. It becomes totalitarian when the corporations, okay, become part of the government and vice versa. It's not really that the government is taking over the corporations, it's that they're merging. The corporations are controlling certain aspects of what the government does, and the government controls certain aspects of what the corporations do. That is the very definition of fascism. And that's where we're at. And this is what alarms me, is you see that Twitter has completely been co-opted by, you know, the government and the establishment, basically. Okay. That's an interesting picture. It doesn't look like Ukraine, however. This looks like somewhere in the Middle East. It looks like there's a minaret back there. I don't know what's up with this picture. It looks kind of like a fake picture. Everything here is complete Russian propaganda. Not Russian. It's basically United States Western propaganda. You will find absolutely nothing that shows sympathy towards Russia on Twitter. And I'm not saying I have sympathy towards Russia in this situation. Like I said, Russia is invading the Ukraine. It's not Ukraine's fault, really. Ukraine's kind of stuck in the middle. I feel really bad for Ukraine, and I wish Russia didn't invade Ukraine. I am anti-war all the way. But if you have if this is the Twitter is so completely one-sided that, to me, it doesn't have legitimacy as an actual free media, social media. It has been it is under control. The lockdown is real on Twitter. The lockdown is here. Okay? The media has been co-opted. The social media, Twitter. Twitter is completely co-opted. So what do you then what do you do? What you do is you find alternatives, and there is an alternative, and it's actually pretty good. And I've been meaning to join this site called Telegram. Now, this is anti-Putin propaganda too, obviously. But the only place you're going to find anything that is not completely skewed towards Ukraine, something that the only place you're going to find, you know, nuanced and more balanced reporting on the Ukraine war right now is probably Telegram. And I saw a news story a while ago. They're already trying to go after Telegram, saying that there's a lot of Russian disinformation on it. Yeah, there is Russian disinformation on Telegram. Guess what else? Guess what else? There is Western corporate disinformation on Twitter. Okay? So pick your poison. Or how about the best thing to do is look at both sides and put on your thinking cap, think for yourself, and try and figure out what's going on. So here goes this guy's really good, but he went to sleep. He's in Europe. He went to sleep around, like, I guess he must be in Europe somewhere. Maybe he's in Russia. Who knows? So this looks like pro-Ukrainian type of stuff, but at least it's from there on the ground. Let's see what we got here. And all you got to do, what I've been doing here, is, getting the Google Translate out. So I can go here, copy this, see what they're saying. I don't think that's going to be. So let's see. News Russia. Delete account. Hello. News Russia. So it looks like this one's getting updated. Copy. Let me put this on the other page, and so I can leave this up. So what's this saying? Powerful explosion in Petrovsk. Petrovsk. Where is Petrovsk? Petrovsk. Petrovsk. So apparently there was a powerful explosion in the Petrovsk district. So somewhere in this district, they said there was a powerful explosion. That's like downtown Ukraine. That's literally probably where the government buildings are at. Kyiv. Yeah, it looks like this is so somewhere there's a powerful explosion in the downtown area. Very interesting. So this is where you're going to actually find what's actually going on, is by just going around Telegram here and trying to, let's see, forwarded. Who is this forwarded from? I'm going to try to get request to join. What is this? This channel accepts after they approve. I'm going to rejoin that. Um, Artillery shelling is now in Kharkiv, the strongest for all time. So Kharkiv is the city Kharkiv is this city in it's not around Ukraine. Where is Kharkiv? Kharkiv is way out here. Way far away from Kiev, I think. Yeah, that's in the east. So they are shelling. That's where I think the Azov battalion is at. So that's gonna be a crazy battle. Because I'm sure the Azov battalion, they really hate Russians. They're gonna, like I said, I'm not sure if they're anti-Semitic, but they're certainly anti-Russian. So they are going to have, they said, the strongest for all time. Artillery shelling is now in Kharkiv, the strongest for all time. It's Google Translate. Pretty interesting. So, forwarded from Matt Mosh. What's this say? People trying to evacuate. Thousands of people at the railway station in Lviv, LVIV, waiting for the train to Poland. So these are evacuees. What is this? This looks like, let's see what we can. So I'm just going down these and translating them using Google Translate. Maybe I can minimize this, make it smaller. No, I can't really do that, can I? It doesn't really work. Local media reported that military unit 3033 is on fire in military unit 3033. I'm not sure what military unit 3033 is. So it's saying that local media reports that military unit 3033 is on fire. So that must be a military base. Now, these are all going to be pro-Ukraine or whatever, but, you know, trying to find something. Ukraine War. 5,000 Russian these are private military security contractors, mercenaries, refused to fight in Ukraine in Belgorod. Is that in the east? I'm assuming that's in the east and they don't want to be any part of it. That's the problem with mercenaries. Throughout history, that's been a problem with mercenaries. Mercenaries, while they've been used to great effect throughout history. Belgorod, that's actually on the other side. So they got these contractors here. They're probably being told you have to go assault Kharkiv, and they're saying we're not doing it. That's funny. You see, I'll show you the translation. So, local media report that military unit. No, that's the other thing. Oh yeah, that one didn't need to be translated. What am I doing here? So, they said we're not going into for formal reason for refusal. This is not in the contract. That's funny. That's mercenaries for you. That's why mercenaries were. You know, a lot of, throughout history, mercenaries have been, many armies have depended on mercenaries, but they turned out to be less than dependable at times. And sometimes they would even turn on their on the people hiring them. So this has happened throughout history. So that's the problem with mercenaries and private security contractors and all that, is that they can refuse, because they can refuse to do a job because it's a contract, it's a business contract. So at first I thought that this operation looked like it's... So where was this map? I had a map earlier. I wish I could find it. There was a really good map earlier. I think it was on this page. Let me see if I can find it here. There was a really good map. Yeah, is that it? No, there was a really good map showing where how far the Russian troops had made it, and maybe I can kind of this is all pro-Ukrainian stuff, but still, at least these people are actually there. So I'd much rather, it's not that I have a problem with pro-Ukraine sources, but this on Twitter, it's like they're not even talking about the war. They're just bashing Russia all day. And look, there's plenty to bash about what Russia's doing right now, but I would like to see some real on the ground reporting. I don't see too much of that. Just all of these propaganda stories, these photo ops. Here goes something real. This is what Russia gets for trying to invade. Probably landmine or something. But it's all just propaganda. There's no actual reporting here. Here goes Zelensky with his look, all these photo ops. They're doing all these photo ops. It's like, give me a break, people. Then they show the hot girls. That'll get some clicks. The hot girls in uniform, hot girls fighting. That'll always get some clicks. They did that with the Kurdish female soldiers as well. There goes Zelensky with his photo op. I mean, if he really is actually taking part in military operations, in the defense, like actually on the ground, maybe being like a real leader, that would be awesome. I think that would be really cool, right? That, this former television actor, his country gets attacked, he refuses to leave Ukraine, and then not only that, but he actually takes part in military operations, providing, leadership and such things. That would be awesome. I highly doubt it, though. It's all photo ops, if you ask me. I mean, that's where I'm going to think that until someone proves otherwise. But everything on Twitter, look at this. At least if I go to Telegram, I can actually get real stuff from the ground. Okay, and I can actually get, let me see if I can find something on Russian army. Maybe I can get... I'd like to see some sort of like actual stuff from Russian army. That I saw that earlier. Okay, what do we have here? Nope. So I'm just getting used to Telegram. Obviously, it's not as big of a website as and because most of the sources are not in English, it's hard for me to find anything. I was going on Michael Brock's channel, and I guess he must know Russian or something. So let's see what this guy's saying. Oh, we got, what is this? Oh, this looks like something big. Whatever this is, it was just posted. Let's find out what it is. Let's find out what's going on here. Burning oil depot in Vasilkiv. So Another video of a burning oil depot in Vasilkiv. So let's find where that's at on the map. Vasilkiv. Part of that is oh, it's way out here. That's in the general vicinity of Kiev. So that's down here somewhere. So there's an oil depot out here somewhere. And that got blown up. Interesting. Here goes another report here. I wish I can just like, is there an option to translate on here? That'd be cool, right? You know, I know Google's really evil and all that, but the Google's done good with the translate thing. What do we have here? On the evening of February 26th, they call them Yukis. So this is direct translation. This message right here. Here it goes. On the evening of February 26th, the Yukis shelled the Reveki oil depot in the LPR. What is the LPR? A few hours later, a missile strike was launched on an oil depot near Kiev. Where's Rovenki? So Yukis shelled a Rovenki oil depot. So that's on the border. So they shelled. So guess what happened is, according to this, the Yukis, they call them. Is that like racist? I don't even know. The Yukis call them. They shelled something in here. They shelled civilians, supposedly. And then the Russians turned around and blew up. Maybe also they probably did an airstrike, I'm thinking, at that other place that we just looked at. That Vasilkiv. Vasilkiv. Which so the Russians probably did an airstrike, because my understanding, man, I wish I could find this map. I should have saved it. There was this awesome map earlier that really showed in good detail where the Russians were at, and I'll just put it on. Let's get Google Maps. So, what it looked like, so it looks like the Russians had advanced down here on this side of the Dnieper River. So I guess they dammed that up, and it's a big reservoir now. So on this side of the Dnieper River, the Russians advanced down here, and they're basically on the outskirts of Ukraine up here. Now, I don't think they are on this side as much. They did come in from over here and come down this way, and they got like a lot of this. They got a lot of this stuff over here, and then basically they already had all of this stuff over here, and they're also doing a major offensive into Kharkiv, which is like where the Azov battalion is at, and I'm sure other right-wing militias. And then They also attacked from Crimea up into this area up here. So what that tells me, since I don't see why they would attack here, like I don't see why they would occupy all this territory here unless they intended on keeping it once the war was done. So that tells me that the Russians are going to want to keep this area because they already have Crimea, but they advanced up here and they're all up over here. And of course, they have all of the Donetsk and the eastern Ukraine area, and then they're attacking in the Kharkiv because they want to kill all the Azov, all the right wingers, and then they're coming in here on this side. I'm thinking they're doing that so they can encircle Kiev. But so far, last I checked, they had only made it about this far. So it seemed like they had only gone about this far. Is there a way to draw on this? That'd be cool if I could draw on this. I guess not. So they seem to be coming here in an attempt to at least partially encircle Kiev. So far, they haven't. They're like over here. Maybe by now they're closer. But there's one force right here. But if they want to encircle Kiev, they're going to have to bring all their forces from over here. And I don't know if they intend to bring all of these forces from up here all the way to Kiev. That's a long way to go because I think they're only right about here. So I'm wondering if they plan on attacking bringing their advance all the way up here. So it's a three-pronged attack, as you know. All good things come in three. If you're a Russian, it's a good thing anyway. If you're a Russian soldier, or if you're Vladimir Putin, it's a good thing. So they looks like they're advancing here, but I don't know. That seems like a long way to go. Are they going to? Do they intend to advance all the way up to Kiev from down here? They got here and they're coming across here. So that's what it seems like. And but I think maybe they want to keep. They're going to want to try and keep all this land down here. That's my theory on it. Man, I wish I could find this map. It was such a good map too. Such a cool map. Maybe I can do Kiev. I don't know what all this is. See if there's anything good on this. So this is how I think if you want to really understand what's going on, get on Telegram. You know, just get on Telegram. It looks like a neat little platform anyway. Let's see what this guy's saying. So I just copied and pasted this. They're saying the General Staff of Ukraine said that that's thanks to the fact that the people were given weapons. It was possible to hold all major cities. I mean, it seems like that seems correct. It seems like Russia's not. This isn't going as well as the Russians thought it would. But I'm sure Vladimir Putin, being a very pragmatic, very sort of calculating person, understood, and before doing this, considered the fact that it could, not go. Wars never go exactly according to plan anyway. So even though, a lot of this stuff I'm able to find is uh, pro Ukraine, at least it's coming more directly from the source. I'm wondering if even Telegram is censoring Russian voices on here. Or maybe Russia is censoring Russian voices. That's possible too. Oh, look, this is my previous. Okay. Yeah, there was such a good map, and I'm really upset. I should have copied, and I should have what is this? Neo-Bolshevism. So is Visegrad TV some sort of neo-Nazi page? I don't even. Hey, I didn't know, so whatever. But these guys look like they're White Lives Banner. Look at these guys. That's funny. So Visegrad TV. Intel Slava. That one's a good one. I like this. Did I follow this one? I'm already following it. Join channel. Yeah, this one's good. I like this. Intel Slava. So let's see what they got. They might have some juicy stuff. The view from the window tonight. Okay, here we go. Let's get something good here. It's loading. Oh, wow. So there's an explosion. This is in Kharkov. The view from the window tonight at Kharkovite. Their morning started a little earlier. So it's morning over there, and shit's blowing up. Damn. What's this? Kharkiv.
Горит газопровод. Посещает полданиловки реально.
I don't hear any artillery shells, though.
Горит газопровод. Посещает полданиловки реально.
Oh, there are artillery shells. Gunshot? I hear some gunshots. That fire is so loud, though. That's a gas pipeline. So they blew up. That's an actual gas pipeline. That's a natural gas pipeline. Look at that fire. That's a rad fire.
Горит газопровод.
That is a rad fire right there. Damn. Woo. You couldn't even get within 1,000 meters of that. You'd fucking start catching on fire. You'd start combusting. Look at that. Apparently that's a so we've got a lot of Kharkov stuff in here. What is this?
Ух ты, ёперный банан.
A bomb?
Ух.
Ну,
Да.
газовая заправка.
Да.
I don't know what they're saying, but
Ух ты, ёперный банан.
that was, man, this is why Telegram's great. This is much better than anything you're going to get on Twitter, Facebook. Fuck the news. This is why the news is falling apart. They're obsolete. The fire at the oil depot, Vasilkovo. Is that the one we were looking at earlier? So that's the one outside Kiev, I think. A missile. Okay, so is this a... So they say it was a missile. So we know now, according to these people, the attack in that city outside of where's my Google Maps now? I don't know what happened to Google Maps. Oh, here it goes. Okay, so that was the oil depot in this city right here, which is, I don't know, 20 clicks outside of Kiev, 20, 30 clicks. Kharkiv. Shelling. Wow, that's close. Shelling. Wow. Not a good place to be right now, huh? Yikes, what is this? Shelling. They said strongest of all time. Imagine being on the receiving end of that. I think I've seen that though before. Is that kind of a recycled video? I'm not sure. Oh, that was a shell.
Твою мать, блядь!
That's what a shell sounds like when it's close.
Мать, блядь!
Or was that a plane? A bombing, an airstrike. Interesting. Shelling. Wild. Can you imagine if this was happening in your backyard?
Пацаны, уебало в депо троллейбусный нахуй. Горить к ебаной матери.
So that's like a military base. We saw that earlier. So, what's this? Military warehouses on the street were blown up. Okay, so we already saw that. So that's a good channel. That is Intel Slava Z. Where are they getting their sources from? Maybe I could find something forwarded from this. Oh, this one's good. Counterintelligence, global something. This one's actually good too. What do we have? Recently updated? Oh yeah, recently updated. What do we have? Fire at oil depot, Vassal Kiev. So that got, we saw that. Oil depot, we already saw. That's the pipeline. Where this one was the, that's in Kiev also? Oh, I thought that was somewhere else. So that's in Kiev. That's the same. That's a. I thought that was another channel said that was a pipeline. I guess that was. So look what we have here. Situation in Kiev. Russian held areas appear in red. So they're saying on both sides of the Dnieper River, there are Russians up here, and they got this right here. What is all this? Russians have the airport. They have all this up here. They have all that up here. They're saying overall results of third day 2. Third day Z. After the offensive that stalled on the second day, today the Allied forces began to take their own. The Allied forces. That must mean the ministry. Okay. After the offensive that stalled on the second day, today the Allied forces began to take their own. Not sure exactly what that means. The Ministry of Defense and the Kremlin explained the delay by attempts to enter a dialogue with Kiev, which they nevertheless rejected. In Kiev, they began to wag their tail and say that they were ready for dialogue, but it was already too late. So this is kind of like it sounds like pro-Russian, the way it's written. Military equipment dug in the residential areas, in large settlements. Firing positions are being set up on the territory of idle factories and empty schools. After the stabilization of the situation in this city, which I will copy, the columns of the Russian armed forces moved to the north and to the east to Mariupol. On the way, the airfield of that was occupied. That's from the south. The city itself was surrounded. The security zone north of that place has been expanded to 50 kilometers. That and that have been occupied. Russian troops in the outskirts of that place and that place. So Mariupol itself was surrounded from the west, north, and east. The Allied forces blocked that place, occupying all this blah 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 blah. The armed forces in Ukraine sent reinforcements from Nikolaev in the. Where's that? I'm gonna look that up. It didn't. It didn't copy, did it now? Huh? We're not going to copy? That's in the south. Okay, so all this stuff's in the south. So they're holding that city. Where's this Mariupol place? I don't know. Lost helicopter over that place. This is all in the south. Russian troops are at the turn. The attack on Kherson is not developing at the moment. The delay is due to losses suffered by the RF armed forces because of the attempt to implement the Crimean scenario and negotiate amicably with local administrations. As a result, on the night of 24-25, the Ukrainian side struck at the rear. So the Ukraine list, it sounds to me like the Ukrainians aren't playing. They mean business. I mean, we'll see how long they'll be able to hold out. But it seems like they offered to negotiate just to buy time because they were probably caught off guard by the invasion like everyone else. As a matter of fact, as we recall, prior to the invasion the week before, Zelensky downplayed the U.S.'s intelligence, which, most people didn't believe U.S. intelligence because, U.S. intelligence generally lies. So it's no wonder that no one believed them. So Zelensky downplayed it, and then boom, Russia attacks very suddenly. Luhansk, wherever that is, let's find out. In the Luhansk direction. So this is definitely a pro-Russian type of page. Did I join it yet? Yeah, I gotta join it. I just want to get different sources here. But that's now I lost the in the Luhansk direct and on offensive blah blah all these places. I have no clue where they are. So that's in eastern Ukraine. There's a basically a battle type situation. National battalions of Ukraine use national battalions. Are these the right wing militias? National battalions use carts with heavy machine guns and mortars. The bad situation in the Kharkiv direction. It was not possible to take the city from a swoop on the 24th. The battles are going on in the northeastern, eastern, and southeastern outskirts. The forces of the Russian Federation Armed Forces are trying to encircle the city, simultaneously advancing towards that place. There is a battle for this place. There is no special progress, so it says it's not going good. The armed forces of Ukraine are sending reinforcements to Kharkov, trying to delay the advance of the Russian troops. Near Kiev, the advance to the northwest stopped. The Russian avant-garde in Trent, we already read that. So that's really cool. Intel, Slava, and what do we have here? Forward from, this might be a good page too. See what's going on. Okay, same shit. All this is the same shit, but I'll add them. Join channel. And Cal, I'm just gonna see if I could find any different kind of sources here. Oh, I can hashtag Ukraine. Let me go back. Can I go home? Home. So anyway, this is the place to get. This telegram is promising. They're going to try and shut it down. They're going to say it's Russian intel, it's Putin's social media, all this. But it looks like, you know, I'm just grateful to have somewhere to go where I can actually get something different than what is obviously being just fed from the top down into our social media here in the West, the Twitters. Because, I mean, look at Twitter. Twitter is just absolutely ridiculous. It's like, what is this? No explosions, no fires, nothing. Let's see what happens if I go to latest. Like, stop you. There's no fires. Where's the fire? I want to see explosions. I want to see fires. Well, there we go. There goes a little fire. But it's really sanitized. It's all bad. Putin bad. Russian man bad. Nothing but Ukrainian flags. It's just that they're trying too hard. You know. They're trying too hard, and I'd like to see both sides, but then again, it may be Russia who's censoring, you know, a lot of stuff as well. All right, so I guess I'm gonna call it quits for now. I am out.